Remaining BSAA forces have been neutralized. Retrieving the objective before they send in the wolves.
Alright, so what I wanted to do was talk about this scene in particular and the one before, and talk about how the potential for a DLC is set up in this scene and the post-credit scene for Resident Evil Requiem. Now, in terms of DLC, there has been rumours going around about a specific character with a specific DLC coming to Requiem, and this has been circling since the game even launched, so I'm going to say it's maybe the case, but at the same time, with the way Requiem is built as a game anyway, it wouldn't surprise me if there was another DLC going at it from a different kind of angle. So let's talk about it briefly for a moment. So to start off, the other DLC that is kind of rumoured at the moment is supposed to be Alyssa Ashcroft. This was a rumour going around about a month before the game came out that there was a story DLC for Alyssa being made, and I think that would be cool. And also there is a bit of, maybe not evidence, but there's a bit of a potential tease that it could be a thing through the concept art page for the game. Basically there's a page for each character in there, and there is one for Alyssa, and it does dictate a scene that just doesn't appear in the game, and again, that is concept art, so it's probably been changed and cut, but it is possible because there's all kinds of things they could do with the character. You know, that you could show Alyssa, you know, a post-Outbreak, like fairly post-Outbreak, but maybe it brings in other characters from Outbreak as well. One thing that Requiem hasn't done much to explain is about other characters that aren't Leon who were in Raccoon City. Pretty much, other than Sherry and Leon, no one is mentioned at all by name apart from Chris, who wasn't there in the first place anyway, so he's fine, right? So you have potential there for it to be a DLC, maybe based around Grace's gameplay, so more survival horror focused, following Alyssa and maybe other members of the cast from Outbreak, or even potentially other characters from the mainline series as well. But that's the other one. Now this one I'm talking about specifically is that end scene for Requiem and its post-credit scene. So let me tell you, when this happened, I didn't expect it at all. Like, obviously they'd said beforehand that Chris wasn't in the game. You know, they outright said, Chris isn't in this game, he's off doing something else. So the fact that, one, he's the most mentioned of any other character from the main lines by far in this game, and it's only a handful of times because literally no one else is mentioned once, but his team from Village turn up at the end, which is a team of soldiers I thought were really cool and really underutilized in Village anyway. And you know, they turn up at the end to kind of like save Grace and Leon, and it's like, okay, that's pretty cool. It is cool to see characters that I really kind of like the look of reintroduced again so quickly. So kind of going back to the post-credit scene, we have what looks to be, I'm going to assume, based on the story of 9 and how it's kind of changing a lot of the background lore, I'm going to kind of go on the assumption that those two soldiers were Connections soldiers, right? And the Connections in this game is very, very forefront. Not fully, but they're starting to finally kind of appear in-game more, which is something I've wanted for a while. So there's a lot to talk about with them, but now I'm going to go on a limb and say that they're covering one of 3 things at the end of the game. 1 being Xeno's head, possibly. 2 being some kind of remnant of Gideon. Or 3, there's an Elpis like canister left down there that no one found, and they've got it. That's kind of my assumption as to what that is. I'm kind of leaning more to it being Xeno's head, but I'm not entirely sure. And I feel like the premise for the DLC would be, so again, you've got the Alyssa survival horror DLC, and then maybe you want a action focused DLC, and obviously that kind of Connections troop that's mentioned, you know, they're retrieving the objective before they send in the wolves. Chris's team is the Hound squad, so I'm assuming that's who he means. And maybe you have a DLC playing as one of the members of that group, and there's your action DLC. You know, they're going through the destroyed Ark facility at the end of the game to try and find something, and maybe it kind of digs more into the whole like very big lore that is kind of being set up with the connections. So I think that would be pretty cool. And not to mention, you know, soldier to soldier combat is a thing in this game already. There's a brief couple rooms as Leon when you're fighting these troops, and let me tell you, that bit's tough. So having like this over-the-top action piece where you're pretty much playing as Chris's team against this Connections military group would not surprise me if that was the thing they were going to do. In terms of DLC, again, this is all assuming there is some, which based off of rumours and leaks before launch, I think that's going to be. I think it would make more sense to do one that is survival horror and one that is action, and have that blend in the DLC as well as the base game as well. Could be wrong, but I feel like that's a good way to do it. There is also plenty of other things they could do through the DLC, but I just thought, you know, having Chris's team come back so soon after Village was a big surprise for me, and I know not everyone's gonna like that. Like, I already saw comments about, you know, Chris being the like only mentioned other character in the entire game when he's been in like the past 2 games, and at the end of the day, he's in the new 2 games, so it's kind of important to what the overall story is going to be in some way or another. And while he's not in the game physically, he's still like present in this current story. They even mention like the BSA being weird in this game, so the backlash of Village is still very much there, so he is still important at this point. But no, I mean, aside from the current Alyssa rumour, which I think is pretty cool, I'd like to see the character again. That whole section with her in the game is very brief, as we know, but having the character come back, maybe even some of the Outbreak characters, would be pretty cool. I think a lot of people want to see an original character that isn't Leon or Sherry in the DLC, and I would agree. I think that would be pretty cool to see. I'm more leaning toward it being Jill, but that's just me coping, I guess, at this point. But it could literally be anybody from Raccoon City that would make the DLC. So either way, no matter what character they pick from Raccoon City, if there is DLC for the game, you're going to get a character that people like. So that's a good thing. But yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about it because I don't see many people talking about the whole Wolfhound squad at the end. I think it's pretty cool, and it does have the potential to set up some kind of story DLC post-game, and obviously the Alyssa one would be kind of pre-game. So you get the best of both, you know, pre-cool DLC and a after the game DLC, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it. Leave your thoughts on the whole appearance of that squad again so quickly in Requiem. Do you want to see them return in a bigger way? Do you want to see a DLC with them? What kind of DLC do you want to see for the game? There is plenty of other kind of DLC theory videos I want to talk about. I've seen so many different ideas, and it's very interesting to see just how much they can probably squeeze out of this game if they do make some. So yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.